Miss Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I am going to be talking about my December wrap-up. So I do plan on doing an end-of-the-year wrap-up where I talk about all of the things that I managed to read in 2020, and I also want to be completely transparent that it is December 23rd, and that I could read some books between now and the 31st. I actually do plan on reading about 6 books. 5 or 6 books, so just add that math to the grand totals that I give you for December. But this is our December wrap-up. I have to go ahead and film it now because I will be going out of town on the 25th and I won't be back until January 3rd. And I'm really particular about my schedule. So, let's get this show on the road. In December, I read 42 books. I read 15,186 pages. I listened to 178 hours worth of audiobooks, and that might not be right. My average rating is a 4, which is actually not too high, not too low for me. It's pretty on par for the grand scheme of things. I read 4 contemporary books, and I'm pretty sure I was tricked into reading all of them. I read 16 fantasy books, 2 horror books, 3 nonfiction books, which is completely because of Clear Your Shit, 7 sci-fi books, and 4 thriller books. I read 14 audiobooks, 20 ebooks, and 8 physical books, 16 adult books, 3 middle grade, and 23 young adult books. I read 25 books from cisgendered authors, and if you will recall, as per usual, I will always give this disclaimer, I do not include repeat authors when it comes to this tally. 2 genderqueer authors, 5 unknown authors, 8 Asian authors, 1 black author, 19 white authors, and 4 unknown authors. This year when it comes to, this month when it comes to diversity, I think I really missed the mark. I did not do well at all when it comes to attempting to read more diverse, but I will say that it's partially because of Clear Your Shit. I was really just trying to get rid of all of the books that I hadn't read yet. When it comes to Clear Your Shit, I'm gonna probably wrap that up in another video. But when it comes to Clear Your Shit, I had a lot of books from a lot of white authors that I had just gathered up because I wanted to read what was popular, really. And so partially because of that, this last month maybe was not the most diverse, but I did okay. I could have done better, but I think it's because of the readathon and trying to get all that crap off of my TBR, which I'm kind of proud that I managed to do. Y'all always want me to talk about either the top 5 or bottom 5, or, since I read so many books, or my best arc or the worst book and that kind of thing. And I want to be clear and say that next year is when I plan on actually discussing maybe my top 3 books from the month instead of just going over like 1 or 2, and have a little bit more of a structured wrap up and figure out how to script that in such a way that is a little bit more, I don't want to say accessible, but it makes more sense is my plan. The best books that I read this month, we're going to start with actually one that Elle bought me, Beyond the Ruby Veil by Mara Fitzgerald. This book is about a feral lesbian who's just mean. She's mean the whole entire book. She's not nice to anyone. She hates everyone. No one is worthy of her attention. Screw everyone. She's gonna be the best. And she does not change in the entire book. And I loved that. I loved that for her. She basically, in the beginning of the book, tells her nanny, like, hey, you know why I'm not gonna die? And her nanny's like, why? And she's like, because I don't want to. So, there's that. Essentially, everyone, if they get marked with a mark, they have to go up to this, like, blood tower kind of thing, and the lady kills you and you die. And that's how they get water. And, Emanuela, our main character, is basically had a mark for several years and kept it hidden, and on her wedding day, is found out, and she is taken to this tower, and she basically is like, no thank you, fuck you, I'm not interested in this, hard pass. And she then finds this other world, and I don't want to spoil anything, but this book was amazing. I loved it. I loved the characterizations of it, and it was just, it was a really good book. The next best book that I read was a toss-up between The Year of the Witching and These Violent Delights. I would show you those books, but they're up on the top shelf and I'm not getting it. But both of those were gifts. One was from Elle and the other was from Kara. These Violent Delights is the Romeo and Juliet retelling, and The Year of the Witching is essentially one of those like religious trauma cults, death to men books. That's a very specific niche, but both of them are fantastic books, and I think that you guys should read them if given the opportunity. Romeo and Juliet retelling definitely has a straight cis couple, and despite that I still liked the book. So I was surprised by how much I genuinely enjoyed it, and I think part of it is because I have never read a Shakespearean retelling ever, and did not enjoy Shakespeare anyway growing up. So I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it, but yeah, so there's that book. It was a good one. I enjoyed it, and how many times am I going to say that? The Year of the Witching it was a really good book, and the magic in it and the lore in it was really solid. The way that the men and the priests and stuff are written is something that's always interesting to me. I love a good religious trauma book. Maybe it's because of my upbringing. It's definitely because of my upbringing, which is also why I loved Cute Mutants 3, because it had solid religious trauma, and that's a book that I read this month. I think I read Cute Mutants 2 this month as well. And both of them were amazing. I can't wait to get my hands on book 4. If you guys have not read the Cute Mutants books, you most definitely should get your hands on them and read them. SJ is a fantastic author. They are so kind, and they have tolerated my screaming at them at all hours about their books. So those are good too. When it comes to the worst book of the month, it is most definitely going to be an arc that I read recently, and it is The Salt in Our Blood. I will put a link down below of my review. I don't want to give this book too much attention. It doesn't deserve it, but essentially it villainizes bipolar disorder, and I feel like the author did not do enough research on it. Or it's not that she didn't do enough research on it, it's that I don't feel like she asked more people about their experiences both having bipolar disorder and or having a parent who had bipolar disorder and had it untreated. And I think had she had taken the time to consult with others before writing this book, she would have found that the way that she was writing it was harmful. So that book got 2 stars. It comes out in 2021. I don't recommend buying it. And that's nothing to say towards the author or anything. I just feel like it was not written with bipolar people in mind at all. So that's that. It's really hard to trigger me, and this book triggered me. So it made me feel bad for being a bipolar person. And like, why? I had no control over that. So that sucked. Didn't like that. The best arc that I read this month is going to be a toss-up between The Bone Maker. The Bone Maker is a fantasy book, and it's kind of about like the aftermath of our YA fantasy books. You have all of the heroes, and they have all of their traumas and stuff, but we don't ever really talk about it or see it in the aftermath. This kind of shows 20 years later what our heroes look like. They're beaten down, they have trauma. And it turns out that they have to go into battle once again. And because they have to go into battle once again, things are a little bit interesting, and our fearless leader has completely disconnected herself from her previous team, and she has to contact them again. So it's just, I liked the way that that was written, and I thought that that was just really, really interesting and well done. The other best one is going to be Summer of the Brave. Now this is a middle grade contemporary. I am not the biggest fan of contemporaries, and so for me to pick a contemporary as the end of the year best arc for me to mention in December is kind of surprising, but it touched on a lot of topics that I feel like I would have appreciated having read at 12. Lila she's 12, she's going into the 8th grade, and her family and friends kind of already have an idea of how her life should be going, and she has been going along with it with all of them forever and not speaking her mind, but then her best friend challenges her for a summer of being brave and not telling lies. Lila gets catcalled for the first time in this book, and she goes through kind of the trauma that is, and I feel like we know that it's traumatizing, and most of us can remember the first time that it happened to us, and it discusses that, and it discusses the different sides of femininity and feminism, and how sometimes the people holding us back or holding us to specific standards within feminism are other women themselves, and I found that really, really interesting. So all in all, December was an interesting month. It's been a little bit crazy, and my attention span has not been the greatest when it comes to reading. But I have read some really solid books, and I'm pretty pleased with the ones that I read this month. I am excited for January. I'm excited for a new year and another year on BookTube with all of you. So if you are new and this is the first video that you've watched, please don't hesitate to check out some of my other ones and kind of see the kind of books that I read. If this is not your first video with me, thank you so much for coming back. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Make sure that you have notifications turned on. I have found that sometimes they're turned off, sorry to remind you. And comment down below if any of these books seemed interesting to you, or if you have any questions about any of the books that I've read. I would love to talk about it with you. So, okay, thanks, bye! Thank you.